welcome to another edition of the TimeFlies podcast. I am your host, Dario. The USA just finished beating Brazil in the quarterfinals of the Olympics, and now they move on to the semifinals to go on to face Serbia. Listen, man, this game was a wrap as soon as the tip-off started, man. Brazil had no chance. The talent, the athleticism, the depth, like Brazil had no chance. Going into today's game, I didn't really know a lot about Brazil's lineup. I didn't know a lot about their team. I know that they had a couple players that were on NBA rosters. You had Huertas, who was on the Lakers maybe like 3, 4 years ago. Felicio, he used to play in the league for Chicago Bulls, I believe. Neto, I think he's currently on the NBA roster. I want to say Cleveland Cavaliers, but I could be completely wrong. But going into this game, I looked up some stats for Brazil. Going into this game, as far as three-point field goal percentage, they were actually 45%. They were actually ranked first in the Olympics. Offensive rebounds, they averaged 13 offensive rebounds, which is second in the Olympic ranking. Steve Kerr gave an interview prior to today's game talking about what he's expecting from Brazil. And he was talking about how Brazil is like completely going to maul them on the offensive glass. He said that they're tough, they're hard-nosed. So going into this game, I was expecting just a little bit more of a competitive game, not even a full game. I was expecting more of a competitive first half at least. And that was completely thrown out the window as soon as I saw the ball being thrown in the air for tip off. Like I said earlier, this game just Brazil had no chance. The athleticism, the depth, the talent. I mean, they were being led by 41 or 40-year-old point guard in Huertas. Well, Embiid looked a lot better. I'd say this is one of his better games throughout the whole Olympic outing, even including the exhibition games. I think he ended the game with 14 points. And Steve Kerr is continuing his merry-go-round of starting fives. In today's game, he started Steph at the one, Devin Booker at the two, Drew Holiday at the three, LeBron at the four, and Joel Embiid at the five. And then when he brought in the platoon, he put Derek White at the one, Anthony Edwards at the two, Kevin Durant at the three, Bam Adebayo at the four, and Anthony Davis at the five. At the end of the first quarter, USA was up 33-21, so it was a close game. And I believe it wasn't even a scary moment for the US. The only moment where the US had a hiccup, I think it was at the 6 minute mark in the second quarter up until the 4 minute mark. Brazil had like a 10-0 run and they brought the lead down from like maybe 18 to 20 points to like 10 or 12 or something around there. It wasn't even a real scary moment. You can tell that the USA was getting a little lazy. But yeah, this game was never in doubt. But what I do want to talk about, I actually want to talk about the way that the brackets broke down. So I think the US got incredibly lucky because they were on the side of the bracket where they absolutely had to worry about nobody except one team. So on one side of the bracket, you had USA going up against Brazil, and then obviously this episode was talking about USA completely waxing Brazil. But they were gonna face the winner of Serbia and Australia. So Serbia ended up winning against Australia, and apparently Australia had like a 20-point lead at one point during that game, and then Serbia came back in overtime and they won. And Serbia is now going to face the USA in the semifinals. And Serbia, they do have Nikola Jokic, who's, in my opinion, the best player in the league right now in the NBA. But again, the depth, the talent, the athleticism, that's going to favor in USA's way. So I fully expect USA to win that game. I do expect it to be a little bit more competitive than the exhibition game and also the Olympic opener. But this is where I find it interesting. The other side of the bracket, you had France going up against Canada, and you had Germany going up against Greece. So France, Canada, and Germany, those three teams going into this Olympic play, all the NBA heads, all of the NBA media were talking about Canada, France, and Germany being the three teams that the USA should be worried about. So now, when knockout stages happen, the USA absolutely don't have to worry about any of those teams. They're only going to have to worry about one of those teams. And the way that it's fared out so far, France beat Canada. So France moves on to the semifinals. Germany beat Greece. So Germany moved on to the semifinals. So now France and Germany are facing off in the semifinals. USA is going to go on to face Serbia. So the winner of France and Germany is going to go on to face the winner of USA and Serbia. So USA is only going to have to worry about one of those teams. So I think the USA has fared out incredibly lucky. And the more I thought about it, the more that kind of annoyed me because I don't think the USA got challenged at all within this Olympics. And you can also say that wherever the USA landed, depending on what side of the bracket, it really wouldn't have mattered. The USA was going to come home with the gold. But if you've been tuning into the podcast lately and in each episode and each YouTube video, I've been saying that there's something about this team that doesn't give me full confidence that they're going to come home with the gold. But seeing how they're only going to have to face one and a half teams that they really have to be concerned about, I think the chances of the USA coming home with the gold is very, very high. Serbia, we can't sneeze at. We can't look past them. We got to take them serious because Jokic. But I fully expect them to get that W against Serbia. And then now, depending on who they play, if it's France or Germany, either one of those teams, we didn't play France in any exhibition games. We saw Germany once in the last exhibition game. So we have an idea of how Germany plays. And Germany, they got talent, man. Dennis Schroeder, who becomes Dennis Jordan in international play and all FIBA play. For some reason, Dennis Schroeder becomes the best basketball player in the planet whenever FIBA rules are intact. France, you got Wemby, who's going to be the best player in the league probably within the next 2 seasons if he stays healthy. And you got the rest of the roster who's NBA ready: Frank Ntilikina, Rudy Gobert, Nicholas Batum. I wish we were able to see the USA challenged a little more within the group play and within the first game of the knockout stage. But we'll see in the next game. We'll see if maybe Serbia is able to muck up some sort of defensive scheme that really throws the USA off kilter. And part of the reason going into this Olympic Games why I thought it wasn't a full guarantee that the USA was going to come home with the gold is because leaders of this team, LeBron, KD, and Steph, they're older now. They're not the prime KD. They're not the prime Steph. They're not the prime LeBron James. Even though they're still playing at an amazing level, they're still probably top 10 players in the league. If anything, maybe just right outside of the top 10 for maybe like one or two of those players. But if you take those three players, if you take them out of the equation, then we're going to be looking to depending on Jason Tatum, on Anthony Edwards, on not healthy Joel Embiid, on a Drew Holiday, a Derek White, and the last two names that I mentioned are 100% all-stars, but they're all-stars in their roles, and we're not sure if they're able to step outside of the role and able to take on a more responsibility. But as the exhibition games went on, as the Olympic Games went on, the group stage and the first quarterfinals game against Brazil today, like I feel kind of stupid because this team, I think this team's going to come home with the gold. Depending on France and Germany, I think Serbia, like I said earlier, I think we're going to get the W against Serbia. But against France and Germany, I'm very interested to see. I think Germany might give us the toughest bout, honestly. Whoever makes it to the finals, I'm really interested to see how they play against the USA. But guys, that's it for today's episode. I want to keep it short, sweet, and simple. And your boy has to get to work. So tune into the Time Flies podcast. If you're listening to this on any of the podcast streaming platforms, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, remember to rate, review, and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube right now, stop what you're doing. Hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. That'll be a really big help. But until next time, I believe the semifinals game against Serbia is on Thursday. So tune into the Time Flies podcast because I will be putting out an episode talking about that game and also talking about going into a France or Germany finals game and what I'm going to be looking for. But that's it, guys. I'll check you out on the next episode of the Time Flies podcast, and I'm out. Peace.